Bill Clinton was being interviewed by ABC, and Jake Tapper asked him about, hey, did you go wrong with some of the deregulation you did late in your term? The first part of his answer is an interesting one where he defends his administration to some degree. We'll talk about that. But in the second part, he has a startling admission. So let's go to the tape.
You mentioned financial regulatory reform. One of the things that President Obama is pushing for is regulation of derivatives, and also with a thing called the Volcker Rule, he's trying to separate commercial banking interests from investment banking interests. These were things that were the opposite policies of Treasury Secretary Rubin and Summers at the time. Do you think, in retrospect, they gave you bad advice on those issues?
Well, I think on the derivatives, before the Glass-Steagall Act was repealed, it had been breached. There was already a total merger, practically, of commercial and investment banking. And really the main thing that the Glass-Steagall Act did was to give us some power to regulate it when the repeal, and also to give old-fashioned traditional banks in all over America the right to take an investment interest if they wanted to forestall bankruptcy. Sadly, none of them did that. Mostly it was just the continued blurring of the lines. But only about a third of all the money loaned today is loaned to traditional banking channels, and that was well underway before that legislation was signed. So I don't feel the same way about that. I think what happened was the SEC and the whole regulatory apparatus after I left office was just let go. I think if Arthur Levitt had been on the job at the SEC, my last SEC commissioner, an enormous percentage of what we've been through in the last 8 or 9 years would not have happened. I feel very strongly about it. I think it's important to have vigorous oversight. Now, on derivatives, yeah, I think they were wrong, and I think I was wrong to take it. Because the argument on derivatives was that these things are expensive and sophisticated, and only a handful of investors will buy them. And they don't need any extra protection and any extra transparency. The money they're putting up guarantees them transparency. And the flaw in that argument was that, first of all, sometimes people with a lot of money make stupid decisions and make it without transparency. And secondly, the most important flaw was, even if less than 1% of the total investment community is involved in derivatives exchanges, so much money was involved that if they went bad, they could affect 100% of the investments, and indeed 100% of the citizens in countries, not investors. And I was wrong about that. I've said that all along. Now, I think if I had tried to regulate them, because the Republicans were in a majority in the Congress, they would have stopped it. But I wish I should have been caught trying. That was a mistake I made.
All right. Now, in the beginning, he talked about Glass-Steagall, and he said, look, that was already happening. Basically, they were finding ways to get around Glass-Steagall so that they could take the commercial banking money and combine it with investment banking money. You know, how right he is on that is an open question. But what's not an open question is you didn't have to help them. You didn't have to sign a law that allowed them to bring our commercial money that we put in the banks and let them gamble with it. So I don't find that to be a very persuasive argument or excuse. On the SEC, he's more right. Clinton's SEC certainly was much tougher than Bush's SEC. So when Bush came into office, they're like, don't regulate anything. Let them go do whatever they want. That's been the Republican philosophy, that the market will regulate itself. Now, I don't think that the SEC of Clinton did a fantastic job, and I'm not sure how much of a great job they would have done if they had another 8 years. Would they have done better than Bush? Absolutely. But Arthur Levitt, the guy he mentioned, the head of the SEC under Clinton, has said, you know what, we screwed up. We shouldn't have done those laws. And it turns out we should have regulated a hell of a lot more. So at least he recognized the errors of his ways. But the most important part is what he said about derivatives. He said, yeah, my bad. We shouldn't have deregulated the derivatives. And what he referred to there with the self-regulation is people like Alan Greenspan told him, hey, don't worry. These people are all sophisticated investors. That's the language they use. They're very smart. They have a lot of money, and they won't make dumb mistakes, and they won't take dumb risks. History shows you otherwise. They always take dumb risks because it's not really dumb for them. They make money off the commissions. So if it collapses later, or the company does, or your investment does, it's not their problem. The guys making those decisions already took the money home. So And he says, look, I misunderstood the scope of the problem. The scope of the problem is enormous and it affects everybody. So even Bill Clinton here is saying, yes, it's the derivatives and it can affect everything and I'm sorry about it. Now, that's fantastic and I love that he did that admission. Now, of course, after the show, they realized, whoops, that admission was too true. So they sent out Clinton counselor Doug Band to, as they say in the business, to walk that statement back. So they call ABC News and they say, President Clinton inadvertently conflated an analysis he received on specific derivatives proposals with then Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan's arguments against any regulation of derivatives. My ass. No, Clinton accidentally told the truth there. And then afterwards they realized, oh man, that looks really bad. Not just for Clinton, which, if he makes his own admission, that's fine. But it looks really bad for the guys who gave him that advice, Robert Rubin and the guy who's in Obama's government right now, number 2 man in the under the Treasury Secretary, his top economic advisor, Larry Summers. So then they put out another statement saying, and President Clinton remains convinced that he received excellent advice on the economy and the financial system from his economic team led by Treasury Secretaries Benson, Rubin, and Summers. No, it's okay. It's okay. No. They're all good guys. And yes, we had this giant economic collapse because of derivatives that Clinton totally admitted, but they had no fault. They had no fault. So, look, this is how they cover one another's ass. But for a brief moment there, we got a glimpse of the truth. And it was refreshing to see for however brief that moment was. So now at least they actually know. They know they screwed up, and they know that we might be in for a hell of a lot more trouble.